Let's go back. It's 2004, I'm 7 years old, and I'm on a bus with my dad down to the local Blockbuster to buy this. The Arsenal Untouchables DVD, a review of the legendary 03-04 season with commentary from Peter Drury. Iconic. My dad was a Man United fan, by the way, one of those rare breeds that was actually born there, but by 7 I'd already rebelled to join the mighty Gunners. What a time, and what a moment. I wasn't conscious of how monumental that season was at the time, but I remember later understanding that it was an amazing achievement as I watched that DVD again and again in the years to come. I do forgive myself for not quite getting it there and then, though I was 7 years old. But after that, pain. My entire life growing up as an Arsenal fan, pain. Thinking back to that moment on that bus, clutching that DVD in excited anticipation on the way back home, it's barely believable that that was the best I'd feel about Arsenal's chances of winning major silverware in the years to come for another 2 decades. The reason I mention that is twofold. One, an effort to constantly contextualise the moment we're living through now and implore others not to take this period for granted, as we don't know when we'll live through another. But two, to say that it's very hard to be objective about the club when there's such a good feeling around it, and when these moments are so hard to come by. Arsenal are in one of their strongest positions in their history right now, and as I look forward to next season, I'm feeling just how I did that day on the bus. But because of that, of course, your judgment can become a bit clouded. You can assess every decision the club makes as a good one because the feeling around it is so good. We look back on the 03-04 season as the perfect season, when nothing went wrong and there were no poor judgment calls. But of course, there were. So when the news broke on Sunday about Arsenal's interest in David Raya, and I started to make sense of it in my head, I tried to stop myself from automatically supporting it just because of how much good is going on right now, and tried to think clearly to get my thoughts in order for this video. Because let's be clear, this deal's not an easy one to get our head around. For me, it's analogous to the Havertz situation. No one was sat there in May thinking, yeah, you know what, that guy at Chelsea we've been mocking for 2 years, let's get him in. But you find the positives and talk yourself into it as the deal progresses. I'm conscious of just making up reasons that this deal makes sense because I want it to. But equally, having thought about it, I do think this Raya deal is a really, really good move. For the bonus content for this video, I dived a bit more into the data for David Raya against Aaron Ramsdale and other top Premier League competition, including Alisson and Edison. And we also had a look at him on the field. If you'd like to check that out, it's on Patreon and YouTube memberships for just £3 a month for that, and access to everything else on The Different Knock. Assessing goalkeepers with traditional numbers is a bit of a minefield. So much of it is about what the goalkeeper is instructed to do and how your team want to play. And goalkeeping stats are maybe the most affected by the team's league position and playing style. But Raya's numbers do look really good. Post-shot XG minus goals allowed is probably the best measure of keepers' pure shot-stopping ability. Essentially, based on the quality and factors around the shot from a given opponent, should you let that in, and how many did you let in above or below what would be expected by that model. If you're facing more or less shots, maybe it skews the model, and Brentford faced 197 shots on target last season compared to Arsenal's 136, but it is a decent sample size. Raya's post-shot XG minus goals allowed across the last 365 days, according to FBref.com, is plus 0.13, i.e. he's saving more than expected. Ramsdale's is minus 0.05, saving less than expected, putting them 4th in the league and 12th, respectively. So in pure shot-stopping numbers, before we come to distribution, Raya is better, say the data. But after that, it's really hard to say. Looking at these numbers, you can see Raya excels at a lot of things, and it looks exciting to see lots of firsts and seconds. But when you're facing more shots on target, have less possession, and are dealing with more attacks on your goal, of course you'll have more saves and crosses caught. An interesting part is touches. He's first in the league for touches, with Brentford only having 43.8% of the ball on average, the 5th lowest in the league. But do you want your goalkeeper having your most touches? His long passes completed, however, is very encouraging. Neither of them are very good at saving penalties, something Matt Turner actually excels at, but Brentford conceded 1.21 goals against per 90 last season. Of course you can't totally put that down to Raya, but only Arsenal, the 2 Manchester clubs and Newcastle were better than Brentford. But to be honest, however you spin it, use your eyes, he's a good keeper. But I don't think anyone's questioning whether he is a good keeper. The question marks are over the nature of the deal, as far as I see, so let's deal with that, if you'll pardon the pun. The broad brushstrokes against this deal going ahead, as far as I can see, are as follows. Number 1, we're going to stunt the development of Ramsdale. Number 2, we should be prioritising other positions. Number 3, it's potentially a lot of money for something that doesn't really move the needle that much. Number 4, for a goalkeeper, you should have a clear number 1. It's the one position on the pitch that should remain consistent. Let me break those down one by one. Firstly, on Ramsdale. I don't think I can put it any simpler than this. Does this deal mean that Arsenal Football Club are likely to win more games next season? I think it does, and if you agree, then that should be enough. I mean, it won't be for Arsenal fans, but it should be. But to me, it's a win-win. Either we get an improved Aaron Ramsdale, more focused, beating off very strong competition from Raya, making less mistakes, looking more assured at home and improving statistically, or we get a superior keeper in David Raya. It's that simple, and it's more important than any individual. From Mikel's perspective, I can definitely imagine the conversations with the board and coaching staff, and with Aaron and David's camps. To the board and coaching staff, he makes us stronger collectively. Simple. This is a player Mikel has followed since 2020, and Raya's close relationship with Arsenal goalkeeping coach Iñaki Kanya from their time at Brentford, also sharing an agent, will mean they are very across the player from a technical and personal level. From Raya's perspective, having spent time at Brentford, Blackburn and Stockport, this is a significant step up. Arsenal are the soup du jour and represent a very serious opportunity to win major silverware next year. Mikel can sell him a very simple idea. You either come in, become our number one, and maybe win some major silverware next season, or you come in, maybe win major silverware, but don't displace Ramsdale, and we won't stand in your way if another big club comes in for you. Right now, the market seems to be moving away from him, but with Courtois, Neuer and Ter Stegen and others entering their mid and late 30s in the next few years, as well as other clubs changing their number ones in search of consistency, while it may not have materialised right now, a big move might be 12 to 18 months away. In goalkeeping terms, Raya is still relatively young. A Bayern Munich might be less worried about the step up from Arsenal to Bayern than Brentford to Bayern, and he'll pick up much needed top level experience. I suspect he wouldn't sign a long deal, 3 or 4 years plus one, maybe, though I could be wrong on that. And finally to Ramsdale, Mikel can be very clear. We believe in you, but there's growth potential and places to improve. You're at a club aiming to be the best in the world. You aren't in competition with Turner and Hine and Okonkwo, you're in competition with Edison and Alisson and the like. And you're not there yet. If you're better than Raya, you will play in the major games, so be better than him. It's that simple. If Ramsdale isn't up for that, then he's not the keeper for us, but my suspicion is he'll be more than up for the challenge. Now, the second concern regarding prioritisation, I actually do understand to some extent. We do have more pressing issues than creating a more competitive goalkeeping group, in my opinion. I think there's something we could do on the right side of our attack, however that looks. I think there's something to be done in central midfield. I think our attacking options need a refresh. But, and this is the key thing to consider, order of business does not equal priority. For example, if you know for a fact you have to wait until the end of a window, deadline day, to secure the player that is number one on your list because the selling club are trying to find an ample replacement and haven't done so, then what can you do? Fans might be worried that you haven't filled your more problematic positions in the meantime, but you have to ignore that. Different deals are shaped in different ways. While it might be nice to get players in early, when you look at the window as a whole, you want to look back and see you addressed as many of your weaknesses as possible, no matter the order that it happened in. And sometimes it's just out of your hands. Take the Partey situation in summer 2020. A midfielder was evidently a priority due to the links we were seeing all summer, but it took until deadline day to get Partey done with a release clause, as Atletico wouldn't shift their demands reportedly. We made sure personal terms wouldn't be an issue beforehand, but that's all we could do, as the actual move itself literally couldn't materialise before then. If you follow the "we need to prioritise other deals first" logic to its natural conclusion, you're suggesting we prioritised Runar Alex Runarsson over Thomas Partey in summer 2020, and that we wanted Nuno Tavares more than Ben White and Martin Odegaard in summer 2021. Order doesn't equal priority. The third concern, the financial element of it, is part of this. I think the price mentioned is fair for a player of his quality, you might not. However, his wage demands, currently £25,000 a week at Brentford, should make this a very attractive financial package. All in all, if we look back at the end of this window and we haven't been able to get something else done further up the pitch because of this financially, I will be disappointed, and I do think that will be a mistake. But this is a market opportunity right now that we must take, especially with it looking like Matt Turner is on his way out. I think Arsenal know that, but I suspect this isn't the end of our business. The window isn't over yet, and let's wait until the end to fully judge it. Finally, the goalkeeper should remain consistent idea. I'm not really sure how I feel about this, because the traditionalist in me does agree. I've seen the idea bandied that it could be Ramsdale in away games and Raya at home. Possible, but I doubt it. I do think a settled back five is useful, but perhaps Mikel is intending on starting a trend of changing goalkeepers depending on the game. I don't think it'll work, and I doubt it, but why not? If he wants to do it, show us it can work. In a team aiming to play 60 or more games in all competitions, I think the minutes could be shared for this season upcoming before there might be discontent the following summer. But right now, as I sit here, I do hear that fourth concern. And I do think you need a recognised number one for each competition at least, which may be how it works out. The most exciting part of this though, and where I want to finish, is the cultural element. We started this summer wanting the club to be ruthless. Mikel used that word a number of times towards the end of last season, referring to our actions on and off the pitch in the summer ahead. The other word you're hearing is win. We want to win the Premier League, and these types of actions, these ruthless actions, may mean we get there. This is certainly culturally new for Arsenal, and I could be wrong, but I think this is new league-wide. I've never seen a club give a contract out to their obvious number one, a young international keeper with huge potential, then sign someone older who I would consider an equal in quality in the same summer. It is brutal, but that's the game. If we want to compete with City, Madrid and Bayern in the latter stages of the Champions League, year in, year out, we're going to have to make some uncomfortable decisions. And perhaps this is one. To beat the competition, we have to break new ground. And we have to innovate. I've been crying out for us to make some tough decisions on players that I'm less keen on, the likes of Vieira and Smith Rowe. So why should it stop at Ramsdale just because I like him as a person and more as a player? Is Ramsdale the best goalkeeper in the world? No. So we can improve on him. There's a level we're trying to reach, so let's act like clubs at that level now and in the future. If we do that, the next 5 years or so at this club could be incredibly exciting. Mikel will stop at nothing to make us competitive. I personally wouldn't have the balls to do this, but that has no bearing on whether he should or shouldn't do this, obviously. The fact is, this makes Arsenal better. And in the end, the collective matters more than any individual.